Welcome to Teal Talks, where we have bold, intelligent conversations with innovators, leaders, and influencers from around the world. We're all coping with COVID at home and school and in the workplace. So today we're going to zero in on resilience in the workplace in the times of COVID. My guests today are Arianna Huffington, who's an author, an entrepreneur, and founder of Thrive Global, and Ellyn, who's the Chief Leadership and Human Resources Officer at Accenture. Ellyn and Arianna, you are both formidable business leaders. You've had a long trajectory of career success. And yet each of you have come to a moment in your career trajectory where you've had to come to the painful truth that you were stressed, that you needed help, that you needed to step back, take stock, and do something different. Arianna, I think that moment came for you in 2007 when you found yourself just totally burnt out. Tell us about that and how you recovered from that situation.
Thank you, Julie. And it's really great to be here with you and with Ellyn. Yes, my wake-up call came on April 6, 2007, when I literally collapsed from burnout, exhaustion, and sleep deprivation. I was at the time the divorced mother of two daughters, 2 years into building the Huffington Post, and I had bought into the collective delusion that in order to succeed, to be super mom and super founder, I had to be always on, that I didn't have the luxury of taking care of myself. And collapsing was really an incredible wake-up call. And because I'm a bit of a nerd, I just literally delved deeply into the phenomenon of burnout, which was my personal diagnosis, but which I realized was also a collective diagnosis.
I'm sure that was a very painful reckoning, but thank goodness you made it to the other side of that mountain, because some of the work you've been doing since then is not only changing your life, but is helping all of us. And Ellyn, you're one of those people that's been helped in this regard. Your moment of truth came a few months ago in the heat of the COVID pandemic surge last spring, and you too found yourself at a place where you needed help. Not only are you both incredible women, but you're also friends. So you turned to your friend Arianna and asked her for help. What happened?
Well, I'd like to first say that unlike Arianna, I've had several moments where I needed help. And, from the time going back to when my dad passed away and I was the person responsible for making the end of life decision, incredible deep grief that I was not recognizing, to when my boss, my beloved boss, passed away in post. And then recently, as you mentioned at the beginning of the pandemic, and the reason I share that is because I don't always think there's one moment. I think that these things come to people when you think you're okay and you're not. But I'll focus on this most recent one this time. But I actually didn't ask for help. What happened was Arianna texted me and said, "Can you talk?" He asked me one simple question: "How are you?" And that opened the floodgates for me. And I told her that, I was incredibly stressed. It was right at the beginning of the pandemic, right during shutdown and lockdown in New York City. We were trying to get our people home. We have over 500,000 people around the globe. We were trying to get them home safely. I was working around the clock, using my phone to order food, which was not healthy food. And I had stopped the one thing that keeps me even, which is my walking. And Arianna is great at straight talk. And it wasn't the first time she's given me some straight talk, but this time she said to me quite plainly, "You need to stop and listen. Your company is not looking to you for stamina. They're looking to you for creativity, to solve complex problems, and for compassion. And if you don't take care of yourself, there's no way that you can do what your company or your family are looking for you to do.
I just wonder, how do you advise your employees or your colleagues to take steps? What kind of steps can individuals think up for themselves to move forward and sustain their resilience?
The important thing is that we don't just teach people about themselves. We give them the tools they need to take what we now call micro steps. And those can be things that are very simple. One of my favorite ones is just turning my desk chair around and between calls doing 1 minute of breathing. Even if I have to, send someone a Teams message and say I'm going to be a minute late for the call, I come back much more focused and really feeling much more engaged in the conversation. So I would say that's how we advise people. Do you want to add, Arianna, too?
Well, I would say that what Ellyn demonstrates is that when, as a leader, you take care of yourself, then you become a better leader to your teams because you are more empathetic. You identify more with the stress that they're going through. And also, you are a role model. And we are finding with all the companies we're working with that cultural permission is essential. We are changing the overall culture right now. Mm-hmm. And we have a way to go. Mm-hmm. And we are seeing that again and again.
What's your favorite micro step, Arianna?
Oh, as you know, Julie, we have hundreds of them, but my absolute favorite is to pick a time at the end of the day that you declare the end of your working day, and you mark that end by turning off your phone and charging it outside your bedroom. Mm. The truth is that most people don't have an end to their working day. We could all stay up all night, handling things, answering emails, texts. So we have to declare it. And it doesn't matter, again, micro steps, start somewhere. Maybe you declare it 5 minutes before you go to sleep. But just by declaring it and removing this thing from your bedroom makes it critical in terms of separating your life with all its projects and problems and your time to recharge.
I think we can all resonate with the lack of separation between our work life and our home life when we're working from home. But you're also making me realize you not only are managing yourself and your own well-being, you're giving steps to colleagues or other employees. But I'm interested in your views on what the senior leaders can be doing. What's the role of senior leadership in really endorsing the importance of well-being in the workplace, of resilience, and specifically beyond how we have self-care, what can leaders do to create a context or a cultural expectation that this is an important priority for the business?
Well, you both mentioned the most important word is that this is a culture change, and that doesn't happen without setting the tone at the top and aligning your actions with your words. And so right after I had my Straight Talk session with Arianna in March, it really, gave me the energy I needed to change. We started talking about it. So normalizing that everyone was feeling stress and really displacement. People were so nervous about their kids running in or whatever it was. Now those things are so normal. But a year ago, they were not normal. And for us, we use Microsoft Teams. And what we asked our senior leaders to start doing is put transparent away messages in Teams when they were away from their desks, like, I'm going to make dinner for my family. I'll be back tomorrow. Or I'm running downstairs because I need to turn Zoom back on for my kids' distance learning. Just be very clear that it's okay to do things that are not work related, and it's okay to share them. And that sets the tone at the top and allows people kind of the freedom and creates the environment for people to be able to live a healthier life.
Arianna, what would you advise leaders to do?
I would say, first of all, that this is the silver lining of the pandemic. The fact that we are having these conversations, which frankly, we should have had a long time ago. So now we have this crucible time, which is a catalyst for fundamental change. And we're seeing that both in pioneering companies with forward-thinking leaders like Accenture, but also in other companies, which in the past would have completely endorsed culturally the always being on mindset.
You know, this is making my heart beat faster because this is such a profound conversation and it's so universal. You know, it cuts across very large companies like Ellyns, or it cuts across small business, or even tiny little work sites, that in all of these environments, the permission to acknowledge that self-care, resilience, well-being are important, not just to the individuals, but to the business and the business success. It is transformational. So I just wonder, as you look into the future, I don't want to say post-COVID, because that sounds like I have a crystal ball and can predict when that point in time is ever going to be with us. But when you look into the future and think about where we're going to be, say, a year from now, what do you predict will be the leadership themes and the consequences of this very, very challenging time that we're working our way through?
I mean, I'll say that there are going to be leaders and laggards, and I think the organizations where the CEO recognizes that to unlock the potential of their people, they need to focus on holistic well-being, are going to extend their leadership, and the organizations who really only pay attention to, you know, the things about an employee that they see have an ROI or historically have had an ROI are going to be, laggards coming out of this crisis or emerging stronger. And I truly believe that, because this concept of stakeholder capitalism is real. And I think creating a shared success mindset where investing in all of your stakeholders, including your people, is what is going to, strengthen organizations, regardless of whether they're 10 people or, 10,000.
Arianna, do you have a framework from the business perspective that you are engaged in?
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I see this change accelerating because people have finally recognized that performance is tied in to the employee experience, and that companies have an incredible opportunity at this moment to not waste this crisis, but to use it to transform cultures. And also the connection between personal sustainability and planetary sustainability is being made more and more. I was talking this morning with the CEO of Allianz, and he is passionate about planetary sustainability. And he's working on climate change, and he and I are on a board about that together. But he also sees that when people are burnt out, they move into survival mode. They move into fight or flight. And that's when they don't really care about the planet. They're just trying to get through the day. So one of our sayings, and we work on that with many companies that care a lot about this existential topic. One of our sayings is, burnt out people will keep burning up the planet. So the two things are connected in the same way that, if we want to create an inclusive culture of belonging, we need people who are not running on empty. I mean, I can I can speak for myself. When I'm running on empty, when I'm exhausted, I'm less empathetic. I miss a lot of signs from my coworkers and colleagues. I'm shorter, I'm more reactive. I'm not a person I want to be around.
Well, if there's one thing that we can take away from today's conversation is that, organizational health begins with individual health. And we certainly can connect the dots between that individual health, resilience, well-being, and the broader success stories of not only our businesses, but of our planet. So thank you for drawing that connection. I am very sorry that our conversation needs to come to a close now. So I want to thank my amazing guests. This has been provocative and I think a micro step in the direction that we need to take to go back to our businesses and really start to walk the talk on the changes that we would like to see happening. Thanks so much for joining us. And I thank our audience for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.